Joining us right now is Pierce County Executive Ryan Mello. Executive, thank you for joining the show, brother.
Always good to see you, Gee.
Yes, sir. Hey, before I get into that, I want to ask you about what happened down in Pierce County. I want to just take this time before we dive in. I want to ask this. How did you find your way into public service? When did you know that's something you wanted to do?
Well, thanks again for having me, Gee. I think for me, my calling to public service started right out of college. Moving here to Hawaii, going to school here in Tacoma, and I joined the Domestic Peace Corps right out of college, the AmeriCorps program. And I loved it so much. Most people do 1 year of AmeriCorps if they do it. I decided to do 2 years because of what I was learning, the people I was meeting, and the impact I thought I was having. So my service in the AmeriCorps program allowed me to meet so many people. I was charged with programming to help young people really learn about their ability to give back to this community long into their life. Mm-hmm. So I got to design programs to do just that, help young people get into giving back to their community and have that lifelong ethic of community service and giving back. So it was through those many experiences and meeting so many wonderful people making a difference here in this community that I began to really think about how could I, over time, really up my game and up my level of community impact, and learning about policymaking, mm-hmm. ability to solve problems at a policy level, really got me excited.
Yeah, I'm glad you was doing that, because when I was your age that time, I was just thinking about jumbo jacks with some tacos. So before we continue, also follow up to that. So now that you are in this position, right, and you're in this position, this is where you are, and they know who you are. How do you, when you went into this job as executive, what did you think would be your biggest concern, right? And actually now you're in the job, what is your biggest concern?
Yeah. Not being new to county government, switching roles, coming from the legislative branch of county government, moving to the executive, serving countywide as the county executive, allowed me to be really grounded in the major challenges of Pierce County. So mm-hmm. not new to the challenges. And so, as you indicated, not blind to what the major adversity is that I would be walking into. I really knew that walking into this role, my major challenge was going to be about our county budget, about making sure that we have the resources, the financial resources to be able to tackle our most pressing challenges and deliver essential services for the people of Pierce County. In county government, especially ours here in Pierce County, our expenses are exceeding our revenues. Our revenues just are not keeping pace with the cost of labor and the cost of goods and services and inflation. So I knew that based on my work history here in the county, in my previous role, that balancing the budget, making sure that we have the resources to deliver essential services was going to be one of my top challenges. What became the major challenge, actually doing the job here in, week 2, 3, and 4, Gee, to be completely honest with you, our relationship with the federal government and the chaos of the federal government is what has turned into by far my most significant challenge. The chaos of this federal administration, the tariffs, the change in policy every other day, the outright stripping of federal funds for really core services to keep our community safe, emergency preparedness and other public safety initiatives, helping to move people off the street who are unhoused, people who need housing or other supports, food, healthcare. By far, the chaos of the federal administration has proven to be my most significant challenge.
Okay, let's stay there right now. And if you're listening right now, you're listening to the Pierce County Executive Ryan Mello here on the Gee and Ursula Show. Let's stay right there. I want to talk about the deficits that's happening right now in the threat of the withholding of federal funding and things like that. There are people right now that are listening in Pierce County, right? They're listening. I don't care about your politics. You live there. I live in Pierce County right now. Tell us what it means right now, because I don't think Pierce County was going to be operating in a deficit if the federal funds would have gotten to you guys. But now that the federal funds will potentially be withheld, tell us truly what that will mean for the people living in Pierce County and what kind of pivots that you would have to make.
Well, my morning meeting this morning was with major healthcare providers right here in Pierce County, and them sharing with me the major cuts to Medicaid being made by the federal government, how it's going to blow a $1.5 billion with a B, $1.5 billion hole in our local healthcare institutions' budgets over the next 10 years. That's real money. These are folks, providing healthcare to folks, many of them on Medicaid and Medicare, and they rely on these federal payers, the federal healthcare payer system, to fund their healthcare. So that's really significant. That's going to help. That's going to really hurt folks who are not on Medicaid and Medicare, because these healthcare systems are going to have a lot less capacity to serve. So that's a really serious issue that's being caused by the federal government. We rely on the federal government to fund resources to help women and infants who are low income, to make sure they have their basic needs met, healthcare and food. We rely on the federal government to help support affordable housing and veteran services. So there is real harm that the outright stripping of longstanding federal grants to local governments. So we're experiencing that outright stripping of grants and terminations of federal programs. Mm-hmm. And then now we're living through I think we're on day 8 of a federal shutdown. And over the coming days and weeks, if the federal shutdown continues, we're going to experience more and more harm over time of federal funds not flowing in that way, that are really critical to people's daily lives.
I'm glad you brought that up. You brought up the part about our moms and babies out here, because right now what's really in limbo is the WIC program, right? With the federal government shut down, you have WIC, you have moms and babies that rely on the formulas. Just so you all know, I had my daughter on the show just recently talking about how expensive formulas can be. We're talking about $50-something a can. It's so serious now in the grocery stores. They are locked up behind there, so it's not like you can have access to any type of formulas. Right now, Executive, with the government shut down, King County, right now they're doing a thing where they're stepping up to give vouchers to moms in potential of that happening, WIC running out. Has Pierce County looked into something like this? Is Pierce County thinking about when WIC runs out?
This is just a really significant illustration of how serious the federal shutdown is, and how we need our federal partners to come together to find a way forward to continue really essential services. I love learning from other communities, like our neighbors to the north of us, about what they're doing. We in Pierce County don't have the financial capacity that our partners in Seattle and King County do, unfortunately. But this is really serious. These are some of the most vulnerable individuals in our community, right? The folks on WIC are some of the most vulnerable in our community. So I'm really proud that in a budget that we passed this summer at the County Council, we appropriated an additional $400,000 to our major food security provider here in Pierce County. We call it the Emergency Food Network. The Emergency Food Network supplies food, formula, baby formula, food of all kinds to 75 different food banks and hot meal sites throughout Pierce County. So we are a major funder of the Emergency Food Network. We rely on them mightily to provide services to the 75 food banks throughout our community. So again, we appropriated dollars before we knew there was going to be a federal shutdown and this real threat to WIC, because we were already starting to see the need rise, the number of people coming to visit food banks. So, we're going to continue to invest in our partners like Emergency Food Network, where, a lot of WIC participants will show up for service. So that's our immediate strategy to help to provide services there. But I'm going to continue to learn from our partners like Seattle and King County and see what we can do, even though we are under significant financial pressure ourselves locally. We can't possibly backfill and do the federal government's job, right? We in local government we barely have the resources to do our local responsibility.
Right.
I can't do the federal responsibility as well.
Well, opportunity knocks. Speaking of that, opportunity knocks. And last weekend, I look here, I saw you speaking about this. I saw you reading a proclamation on Facebook. And I got to tell you, Ryan Mello, man, I saw you beam. Look at you beaming now. You beaming right now. And what I'm talking about is this is a program from PBS that follows families that are juggling debt, housing, health care. Now, tell us about your connection, why I saw you speaking, and why should the people of Pierce County know about this?
Yeah, we're thrilled about this program. We're thrilled to be the first stop on a 25-city national tour to bring these tools and this way of helping to lift families out of poverty. It started right here in Tacoma, Washington. This PBS show was founded and created by a Tacoman. Her name is Jamie Strayer. She now helps many new credit unions start up, right? Nonprofit financial institutions start up throughout the country. She's a Tacoman, and we're really proud of her. And she has this brilliant idea, and she created this PBS show to really illustrate how real families that we can all relate to, who wake up to go to work every single day, are still struggling to make ends meet and provide for their family. So it's a reality TV show called Opportunity Knocks, right? So it's on PBS. You can find it on your local PBS station or Google it and find it online. It's an award-winning PBS show. I describe it as House Hunters meets Antique Roadshow meets The United Way.
Okay.
So you can imagine the blending of all of that.
I got you.
So last weekend, again, right, we were the first stop of a 25-city tour where we took the show and made the show live, but we had 500 families come to the convention center in downtown Tacoma to experience the power of the resources you get. It's much, much more than a resource fair. It's more than just walking around and getting a bunch of brochures to one day follow up on. Folks showed up on the spot with what their financial challenge was. And they were credit unions and nonprofit partners right there on the spot, ready to problem solve with someone. So, for example, if you're stuck in a payday loan, right? These payday loans at 29, 35% interest, and people are using these payday loans to, fix their car or do something critical to help run their family budget, right? These really tough payday loans. We had credit unions there on site to transform their 29% payday loan to a low interest 3 or 4% loan on the spot. That is transformative. And those families were saving literally thousands of dollars in the moment. We had folks there to help fix people's cars, right? There's so many people who wake up, go to work every day, but can't afford maybe their car gets broken somehow. They need new tires, or car repairs are super expensive and they rely on that car to get their kids to school or get to work. They can't fix their car. We had people there on site to fix their car so they can go to get to work and get their kids to school. This is what we mean by solving problems on the spot. And these are often the root things that are causing significant financial stress on families, and not allowing them to get that breathing room, that freedom to live their full potential. So there was so much. I'm just touching the surface on the kinds of real problems that were addressed on the spot. There were so many services offered to go deep with families and help move them to opportunity.
Well, there's two things you said in those examples, and both of those examples I have talked about on this show. One is the payday loan, right? That right there, that is predatory. Those payday loans, I went in for $125, and before I knew it, I was in this hole that I could not get out of. I needed help to get out of that hole. And 2, the flat tire thing, I had a situation where I had some tires and some brakes that were messed up. I was out of work. I couldn't get to work. Again, I had help with that. So sometimes it's not always about working hard. Before we let you go, I got to tell you, look, man, I see you, I watch you speak and all that kind of stuff. I've interviewed you on the show. The same energy I saw in you speaking, and your whole energy change talked about this. How can you get the energy here when you're talking about people being helped with every other thing? Because this energy, tell me what I'm seeing, Ryan Mello.
The stories of helping people are really energizing to me. So this is why I do this work. I get into this work because I love when we find real solutions for real families. And it's incredibly inspiring, and it's why we wake up and move through the challenges that we're faced every day.